The X-Wing is ready to blow up the Death Star in today's game, Star Wars the arcade game, which technically it's not the arcade game, but the Atari 2600 port of the arcade game, but we get it. So let's go ahead and take Star Wars the arcade game, the Atari 2600 port. Let's pop it in my Atari 7800 Pro system and see how it holds up today. Let's go to the game. Star Wars the arcade game was published by Parker Brothers and carries a copyright year of 1983. It is based on the Atari 1983 arcade game, making this a unique situation where a company other than Atari published a game based on an Atari arcade game for the 2600. It was programmed in part by Bob Smith, who also programmed the Atari 2600 Classic Video Pinball, which I reviewed in episode 321. The manual opens with the following. Object: to score as many points as possible by destroying a relentless swarm of Imperial TIE fighters, a barrage of deadly fireballs, and a maze of sinister laser towers before finally blasting the infamous Death Star from existence. Star Wars the arcade game is a first-person space shooter for one player only. When the difficulty switches in the B position, you start on wave 1, but in the A position, you start on wave 3. For the controls, you use the joystick to aim your crosshair and to move your X-Wing with flight controls, meaning down on the joystick makes you go up and vice versa, and you press the button to fire. You start the game with 8 energy shields as shown on the top of the screen. You lose a shield every time you take a hit, but you can blast enemy fireballs before they hit you. If you take a hit when your shield count is 0, your game is over. Each wave has 3 sections. In the first section, you battle standard white TIE fighters and Darth Vader in the blue TIE fighter. Last long enough and you move on to the second section on the surface of the Death Star. Here you maneuver around laser towers while trying to destroy their laser turrets on top. Last long enough and you'll move into the trench, where you avoid catwalks and fireballs until you reach the main reactor port on the bottom of the trench. Shoot it and you blow up the Death Star and go back to the first section at increased difficulty. Miss and you'll need to keep going through the trench until you reach it again. Scoring wise, you get 3 points for destroying fireballs, 100 points for destroying TIE fighters, and 200 points for destroying Vader's ship. You get 20 points for destroying the first laser turret, and every tower after that, you earn an extra 20 points. So the second laser turret is worth 40 points, the third is worth 60, so on and so forth. There are a total of 10 laser turrets, and if you destroy all of them before moving on to the next section, you get an extra 5,100 bonus points. You also get various bonus points for destroying the Death Star, extra bonus points if you use the Force to destroy the Death Star, meaning that the only thing you shot during the trench run is the main reactor port, plus 500 points for any remaining shields. You also earn 3 extra shields upon blowing up the Death Star. Graphically speaking, this is an amazing looking 2600 game which really captures the feel of the Vector arcade game. The sounds and music are also top notch for the system, although as expected, the digitized voices from the arcade game are missing. Family friendly wise, the game would most likely get an E for Everyone rating if released today. This is a somewhat rare game for the system. Currently at pricecharting.com, the game has a value of $34 loose, $75 complete, and $128 new. So what do I think of Star Wars the arcade game? Technically speaking, this is one of the most impressive games on the 2600. I'm really impressed how well the game looks and sounds, but the controls do suffer a bit. I found it really difficult to move my crosshair and fire at the same time, so I adopted a strategy where I tried not to fire until after I placed my crosshair where I wanted it. And this did work better. Also, when trying to maneuver the X-Wing in the second and third sections, there seemed to be a delay of sorts. During the trench run, I found it near impossible to react in time to the catwalks to avoid them in later levels, meaning I hit my ceiling with the game pretty quickly. My guess is that the system is being pushed to the max and can't process everything quick enough. But despite this, I still enjoyed the game and I could play it again. So where am I going to rank Star Wars the arcade game? This one is going in the 90s along some other enjoyable titles. I will put this over Submarine Commander at 90, but I do like Moon Patrol better at 89. So out of the 198 games I've now ranked for the Atari 2600, Star Wars the arcade game is using the Force to enter in at the 90 position. Star Wars the arcade game is technically one of the most impressive games on the system, but the controls do suffer a bit. However, 2600 fans who like Star Wars will still probably enjoy it. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Also, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me both on the Facebook and the Twitter. Check out some of my many other videos and sign up at patreon.com/NoseForAGamer, just like Mark H. recently did to support the show and gain access to exclusive perks. Thank you for giving me a little part of your day, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the next episode of the Notes for Gamer. Take care and use the Force, especially in the later stages. You'll need it.